Yeah, very good. Lots of stuff to get into, so let's get straight into it. Today's show is obviously your usual head-to-head. We've got all the double Ds you can think of, not the kind of ones you're thinking of, but we've got Diogo Dalot versus Denzel Dumfries. The two chosen players are, of course, wing-backs. So the kind of stats we'll be focusing on today are things like crossing ability, offensive and defensive balance, dribble pass per game, ground duels, all that kind of stuff, basically. So if you're feeling generous, drop a like on the video, smash that subscribe button, and help us reach our goal of 250 subs before the season starts. That would be amazing. Now, just before we get into the main part of the show, Shreyas, we've had some breaking news today, as I'm sure you've probably seen, from Fabrizio Romano. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read the article out to you, and then I'll get your thoughts on it. So Romano has put on Twitter, Manchester United executives in Amsterdam to meet with Ajax today and trying to seal Lisandro Martinez deal. Personal terms agreed with Argentinian centre-back. Man United had a 50 million bid with add-ons included rejected last week, but apparently Ajax are now open to sell. I just want to put out there very quickly before I get your opinion on it, Shreyas. We were talking about Lisandro Martinez on this channel about 2-3 months ago. So that's some proper real red scouting there for you. Just check it out if you don't believe me. 2-3 months ago at least, it must have been, maybe even longer, we were talking about Lisandro Martinez. So it is nice to see our scouting being put into play. But yeah, what are your thoughts on him as a player, Shreyas, and how do you see him fitting in the team?
I mean, to be really, really honest, right now, I do see him fitting perfectly into our squad because, first of all, our manager is Erik ten Hag. And secondly, again, in the friendly match that we saw against Liverpool, I think, obviously, we saw defenders being much more aggressive than they usually are. They were more uptight. They were more aggressive. They were more, I would say, they were more straightforward regarding their abilities as well. Even when, the ball was coming into the box, they were more active towards clearing the ball out as well. So I was glad, because that we had Varane in there, because Varane looked really, really up to it in that game. And, almost we could finally see, why Varane used to flourish that much under Real Madrid, because he was given that license to, actually be able to exploit every area of his game. And we were able to see that after quite some time in a United shirt for him. But I would say Lindelof, he did have a good game. I think he could actually work really well in the system as well. But I would say when it comes to, clearing the ball out, being, that physical, that solid block in a defensive system, I do see him being a little soft at times. And that we saw that against the likes of Luis Diaz, a couple of times against, I would say, their new player Carvalho as well. So I would say that if, someone like Martinez comes in who pretty much has a really, really good passing ability on him. He's good on the ball and he's really, really solid when it comes to his physicality as well. So I would say that he actually fits into the system really well. We could see a really, stable and a go-to centre-back pairing for us if he does come into it. But I would still say the jury is out as to when we are able to conclude this deal, if we are even able to do it, because right now most of the deals that we are working on, they're pretty much haywire, because I would say in the case of Lisandro Martinez, it's much more positive because the player actually wants to come to the club. He's trying to, force a move by not going to training. He's been, I think publicly coming out and saying that he actually wants to join Manchester United and come to the Premier League, work under Ten Hag for quite some weeks now. So I think initially Ajax were thinking that, maybe we can tie this player down for one more season because we pretty much lost our entire squad. So we do need some players to actually, stick in and probably let him leave next season. But I think now they realize that, having an unhappy player at their club is not going to do them any favors. So why not just cash in on him by getting around 45 to 50 million, which I do get from their perspective. But from United's perspective, I would still say that, the longer that we delay this deal, I would say the harder it would be for the player to come in and actually, make a case for himself to be a starter, because we've seen that a lot of times that players, they take time to adapt to the Premier League in the first place and accept that they take time to adapt with the players that they're playing alongside with. So I think if we are able to conclude this deal in the next 2 or 3 days, I would say really, it's a really good sign, because he'll still be able to have a good pre-season. He'd be able to gel with the players as well. But if it goes on like a week or 2 weeks or something like that, I would say that it would be a bit difficult for him, because we all have seen how much a preseason can do to a confidence of a player as well.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, definitely need. We are in desperate need of a centre back, because if I basically assess the performance of every single player in that friendly against Liverpool, I think Varane was outstanding. I think Eric Bailly, as crazy as he was actually really, really good in that game as well. Basically pushed on as a striker in there with Amar and Pelistri. But and to be really, really honest with you, we can expect something like that from Eric Bailly in the Premier League as well, where he just rushes on and moves to the opposition box. So I would say that I don't see him fitting under Eric Ten Hag in a way, because he wants his defenders to have that positional sense in mind to actually be able to maintain their composure at times when the intensity gets too high. And as crazy as Eric Bailly is doing basically bicycle kicks in his own box, I would say that he's really good, but I don't see him as a kind of a player who would be starting for us week in and week out. So
Yeah.
we are still in the hunt for that player. We've got Lindelof, who is a really, really good cover in case our starting ones get injured, but we do still need that, starting 11 centre back to fill in alongside Varane.
And I like what you said about Bailly and Varane as well, because I thought they both played great. I thought Varane was really good in the first half, and Bailly equally as good in the second half. Varane, I think, suits the system more. He's more of a ball playing centre back, whereas Bailly is just like more physical. He can run with it. He can do mad shit with it. He's absolutely bonkers as a player. But the thing is, with Varane and Bailly, one thing they have in common, and you know exactly what I'm going to say, is their injury issues, and you can't get consistency out of them. With them, it's kind of like teasing a diabetic with a Haribo, because you know what you're going to get ultimately. You know what's going to happen. They're just going to get injured, and they're going to be out of the team. Yeah. And in a partnership, you need consistency, which actually leads on to my next question. So I'm glad you said that. You've got obviously Martinez is versatile, consistent. Well, he's been consistent for Ajax every single game, putting in 7 out of 10s. Great in the air for his height. He's 5'8", and he's really good in the air. He's got one of the best records in the Eredivisie. A player that Ten Hag trusts, so you'd think that he would be in that team straight away, commanding from the back. I think it'll be Maguire alongside him. I don't want Maguire to be in there, but because he's come out in public, said he's going to be the captain. Do you think it'll be Maguire next to him, pairing up?
I mean, to be really honest, when he did come out with the statement, saying that he's going to still be captain, I could see that, Maguire is definitely at least going to get like 30 to 35 games next season as well, without a question of a doubt, because you can't really have a captain to warm up the benches. But I would still say that, if he does play 30 to 35 games next season, I think it would be his last season in Manchester United next season, if he does play 30 to 35 games, because to be really honest, we haven't really, signed a fullback which on either sides who is defensively capable and has a lot of speed on him to make up for the lost space of Harry Maguire. And we've seen that get exploited a lot of times last season, where, we've seen that Maguire wants to be more aggressive. He wants to be playing a high line, but because of his lack of speed, even when it's with Telles or even if it's with Luke Shaw, we've seen how badly that flank gets exploited and how badly we get hit on the counter, because none of those players are able to make up for the pace and be able to fill that gap. And we've seen that getting exploited a lot of times against Liverpool, against Manchester City, you name it. Even I would say against the likes of teams like Southampton as well, when Broha spun him around and just went in on the counter and
don't remind me of last season. I don't even want to talk about last season. Fresh start. That's what I'm thinking in there.
I think the fresh start would definitely have to be Varane and Martinez, because because I still I don't really get it. If we do go in for Lisandro Martinez, we get him for like 40 to 45 million, which is, I would say, considering the budget we have, it's a big chunk of money that we are spending in on him. I don't really see him as coming in to warm up the bench, because I completely understand that Ten Hag is definitely going to start Varane whenever he gets the opportunity to. And if, he's able to maintain his fitness, then I would say that he's going to be pretty much the starting centre-back for us in all 38 games of the season. But would he want to, bench someone like Lisandro Martinez, he's worked with for quite some time now, made him one of the, I would say, one of the top prospects in Europe when it comes to centre backs. And bench someone like Victor Lindelof at the same time, who I would say, if we have to assess him on the basis of last season, one of our most improved players, I would say. He has gained a lot of confidence as well. And then we've got Harry Maguire, who's pretty much had the worst career of his life last season. Even on international break, hasn't really impressed that much. Even on preseason, he's pretty much picked up a knock and hasn't really, shown us what he can do or what kind of level he's playing right now at. Because like we've seen, Anthony Martial in the preseason game against Liverpool, he looked really, really fit. Barring the performance as well, we did end up winning 4-0. If you had to, just look at his physicality, I would say he was pressing a lot. He looked a lot leaner. I think he worked a lot on his passing ability, hold up play, and I would say even on his pace, because he actually looked really, really up to it. He was definitely at the races as well. Similar to Sancho, I would say Sancho was absolutely deadly in that game as well. Rashford was, I would say, a bit poor. If I have to, see them as a complete front three, I think Rashford was a bit poor, but Martial, I would say Sancho as well, they played really well. So I think even Fred had a really decent game. So I think these players, at least in the preseason, they're showing us that, they're willing to actually, put in performances, make the case for themselves to be in competition to start for us week in and week out. I think if Martinez does come in like 2 to 3 days, he does come in for preseason. He has a good preseason as well. I don't really see how Maguire, actually comes back into the squad. Definitely he's going to be staying in as captain. Yeah,
it's mad because we've got so many defensive reinforcements now. Now they're not to the level I wished he was, but we've got that many now. We've got left back Malacia, Telles, Luke Shaw, and then when Lisandro Martinez comes in as well, he can play at left back. At centre back, you've got Maguire, Bailly, Phil Jones, Lindelof, Varane, and Martinez if he comes in. So Antoine Zebe as well, who just left the tour to go back to England. I don't know what's going on there, but you've got a 6-7 centre backs there, so they're definitely going to have to offload someone there. Then they've got Dalot, Wan-Bissaka, Ethan Laird, who's just come back into thingy as well. So you've got 3 right backs there. And potentially they want to sign another one. That's what Samuel Luckhurst said. They want to sign someone who we're going to speak about today in a little bit, like a Dumfries. So they've got so many players in defence. They need to sell someone because someone's got to bite the bullet either way. Even when you play in the Europa League games, you're probably going to have, let's say, Maguire and Lindelof. Because if you're going to play Varane and Martinez in the Prem games and the Champions League, God, we're not in the Champions League, but unfortunately. But in the Prem games, in the big games against City, Liverpool, whoever it is, it's going to be Martinez and Varane, you hope. But we have to wait and see how that kind of pans out and when he can join. That also leads me on to my next question. Do you think he will join up with the lads in Australia? Do you think we'll get the deal in time for that? Or do you think he'll miss pre-season? No, you don't think so?
Never. I don't see it happening because, I mean, when it comes
to shows how much faith Shreyas got no faith in our board whatsoever at all.
I mean, if I'm going to be really honest here, I don't even see us pulling off Frenkie de Jong deal within this transfer window as well. The way we are progressing with it, I don't see them actually pulling off Frenkie de Jong because, I mean, I think I've had enough of the saga. The way he's come out as well, I think he's said it like 10 to 15 times that he doesn't want to leave Barcelona. He doesn't want to come to Manchester United. He wants to stay at Barcelona. So, I mean, initially I was actually really excited to have someone like Frenkie de Jong at the club, but why to actually, go in for a player who doesn't really, want to come here in the first place? Why not actually, use better options which would prove to be much cheaper and are already proven in the Premier League? Something similar to what Spurs have already done in this window, and it's worked wonders for them, I would say. And I would still say that, like you said, that the kind of players that we have at the moment, we've got 6 players basically at centre back. We've got 4 players playing right back. We've got 4 players at left back as well with Brandon Williams. We've got a lot of saturation when it comes to, our defensive side. And it's not a good saturation, I would say, because a good one would be...
I was just about to say that. It's not a good one either, is it? It's, I mean, it's like, when you got... you got all the crisp in the cupboard. I don't know if you have that, but we have like loads of crisp, like Walker's crisp. All the prawn cocktail ones gets eaten, all the cheese and onion ones get eaten, and all that's left is the ready salted. And that's all we've got now. We've got 6 bags of ready salted crisps that no one fucking wants. So they're just going to be left in the cupboard.
I mean, and honestly, it's like if you assess them on the basis of how they're playing, and if you have to rank them, it's like crappier, so crap that you can stink. Makes you want to vomit. It's something like this. It's not an order where where it's like a Man City where you would go like Ruben Diaz, Laporte, then you've got Stones. It's not a system where I would say that these players, all 3 of them, offer us something completely different. Most of them offer us the same thing. Most of them are inconsistent. Most of them can't really go above the 40-minute mark as well. So, I mean, if we do go in and try and actually sell these players, I think we could easily raise around 50 to 60 million for them. And for most of these players, I would say I think it's a big call for them to make to actually stay at United this season, because to be really, really honest, I don't see Telles being to actually feature in the World Cup for Brazil if he stays here. I don't see most of these players to actually feature in the world. I think that's one of the reasons why Dean Henderson went on the loan move to Nottingham, because he wanted to be in a competition to actually make the case for himself to be in the World Cup. And a World Cup is actually really, really important to these guys as well. One of the biggest reasons why Timber didn't come to us. So I don't know. I really don't understand how these players are functioning, because if I was, one of these guys, Tellers or whoever it has to be, I would be panicking right now, because staying at Man United is going to prove to be a bigger mistake rather than actually, being brave and asking to leave. And I think with the way we are conducting ourselves in the window, I think the players actually have an idea as well that Ten Hag wants to bring in defensive reinforcements. He wants to bring in midfield reinforcements. Which I think if you have to base it like that, I think Ten Hag is actually working his way from the back. He's first trying to cement the defensive line, then he's trying to cement the midfield, and then he's actually thinking about the attacking line. And that's why I think he's been really, really vocal about Lisandro Martinez as well, and why Lisandro Martinez has been vocal from his side as well, because he knows that Ten Hag wants him, and Ten Hag knows that this guy is also willing to come to the Premier League. So why not actually have someone who's proved himself under him and make him come to United, which I definitely understand the analogy of. But United have been really poor this window, especially, if you have to, try and compare it with the rivals, how they've conducted themselves in the business. I think Liverpool, as bad as the miss was for Darwin Núñez, that open goal miss, I still think that it proved to be, a big revelation for them next season. A really, really perfect replacement for Sadio Mane, I would say. And
it's Darwin Núñez now, by the way. That's what we're going to call him. Didn't want him anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And Tottenham, I think they've had a wonder window. They've got Perisic, they've got in Bissouma for 25 million, they've got Richarlison in as well. They're still trying to work on a few deals, except that Manchester City, 60 million for Erling Haaland. I think it's one of the, I would say, one of the biggest bargain deals to actually, happen.
It's absolutely,
league, I would say.
It's crazy. But let me offer you a hypothetical situation. Okay, so by the end of this week, Eriksen does his medical, signs.
Yeah.
Malacia is already through the door, of course. He made his proper debut for us. And then if we get Martinez in as well, would you be happy with that? Or is that not enough at this point?
I'm not going to be happy in the sense as to, how we've actually reinforced our side after basically having the worst season in the history of the Premier League for the club. But in a way, I would still say that pulling off 3 signings in one window is a big, big deal for Manchester United, considering the way that we've conducted ourselves in this window. So, yeah, I would be happy in the way that, at least we got something done. Something is better than nothing. But I would be disappointed.
That's where we're at now as a fan base, isn't it? It's just like, at least something's being done. Like,
because right now, considering how the other teams have actually, worked, I would, count out the top 4 or the top 6. Teams outside the top 6 have been working so well in the transfer window. I'm scared if we'd actually be, even be able to get like 6th or 7th, because if you look at the way Wolves, Leicester, or, actually even Aston Villa, the way they've worked this season in the transfer window, getting someone like Kamara, I would say getting someone like Kamara for a free is a big bargain deal for them. Someone we'd been looking at as well for quite some time, but didn't manage to get him. So I think, except United, almost every single club, even Nottingham, have had a better window than us. So
Nottingham Forest having a
window than us, Jesus.
I think we're basically just competing with Barcelona when it comes to transfers, because they don't have the money and we don't have the capability to pull off transfers.
No, we really don't. The thing that doesn't make sense to me as well is, why has John Murtaugh and Richard Arnold flew all the way out to Barcelona to not get the deal done and then fly all the way back? Like, what's the crack there? What's going on? It's confusing times at the minute and really frustrating. I'm just refreshing Twitter and I'm just like, is anything happened yet? Has anything happened yet? I've got like notifications on for Romano, Ornstein, just nothing. Just absolutely nothing's going on. Hopefully, Lissandro happens in the next few days. I think it will, in my personal opinion. I actually think it does.
I think they just went on a trip.
What? Sorry?
I think they just went on a trip to Barcelona.
Yeah, they just went and got some cocktails, went to the bar, got a bit of paella.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, we'll be going live if anything happens anyway, today, tomorrow, whenever it is, especially with the Lissandro Martinez deal. If we get a here we go soon, we'll see what happens with that Shreyas. Let's move into the main part of the show and why we're here today. It's obviously a head-to-head, Diogo Dalot versus Denzel Dumfries. I'm going to ask you a question, Shreyas. Let's say that another hypothetical for you here. This is the second one.
This is everything with United at the moment is hypothetical.
Yeah. Well, this is slightly different because I want to get your opinion on it. So let's say you've been offered a team in India, right? And you've got to manage them. And let's say they play out to the same principles as what Eric Ten Hag has. They've asked you, they're like, right, Mr. Singh, we want you to sign a wing back. What are the qualities you're looking for in a wing back to come into your team if you play in like a Ten Hag kind of style? What kind of qualities do you want?
I would say energetic, attacking, good passing ability. I would say rapid on the ball as well, to be really, really honest, to actually, account for the counter attack when being hit on the long ball. But I think if I have to say, the two of them I would say that rank highest on the list would be crossing ability and being good in the air. That's the two I would say, because we've seen how Ten Hag actually works with his wing backs as well. The wing backs actually have to work a lot. So being energetic is one of the top priorities, and except that, having good passing range and being good in the air as well. Because if you have got good passing range, only then you can create those overloads with the wingers. If you are not able to create that, then it's basically the wing back system is absolutely flawed, and it just comes down to the centre backs.
Yeah, when you mentioned that, then I instantly thought of Reece James. Physical, really good in the air, puts a great crossing, gets up and down that side, energetic all day. Yeah. Like I think that's perfect. Absolutely spot on. We're going to dive into all that really, really soon and dive into some stats as well. Just want to give you a quick player profile on the players we've chosen. So I'll go first. Denzel Dumfries, 26 years old, a right-footed right back, of course, who plays for Inter Milan and is valued around 30 to 40 million pounds. That's what Inter Milan are saying they'd want for him. Well, that's what Romano's come out and said. His strengths include actual strength. So physically, he's really good. He's got pace, stamina. He's an attacking threat, gets quite a lot of assists and goals as a wing back. Weaknesses, he can get caught off guard in transition when a team's on counter-attack, which isn't great for us, to be honest, because we're not good at that anyway. And he hasn't played in a back four consistently for a while. So for Netherlands, he plays in a back five. For Inter Milan, he plays in the back five. I'm not sure about PSV, actually. I'll have to double check that. But from bits I've seen, he's much more of a wing back than he is an actual right back. Like, he does like to keep the width. He rarely goes into central midfield. He's aggressive up and down the flank. If you actually look at his heat map, it's just dark red from corner to corner.
Yeah.
He just sticks on the right-hand side, bombs up and down it all game. And that is Denzel Dumfries in a nutshell, basically. For obviously, as United fans, we've seen Diogo Dalot. We kind of know what he's about, but there might be some guys who's watching this now who haven't seen him or don't know what he's about. So give us a player profile for Diogo Dalot, if you can, Shreyas.
Now, look, these are going to be some really amazing stats for a wing back. So, brace yourselves when I put these out. Diogo Dalot, goals last season, 0. Assists last season, 0.
Oh, God.
Came in from Porto, stayed at us for about 2 to 3 years, then went on loan to AC Milan, and then came back from loan from AC Milan back to Manchester United. Um has had good bits, I would say, has had really, really impressive glimpses as well at times. Been arguably one of our most consistent fullbacks last season.
Yeah.
Definitely has a lot of potential in him. I think one of his biggest areas where he could actually, prove to be a threat for opposition teams is that he's really, really good when it comes to his crossing ability. He's really, really good when he's attacking. His, I would say, one of his major flaws is that defensively, it's not that he's not defensively sound. It's because his positioning isn't right. I think defensively his positioning is a bit off. Because I think almost barring Luke Shaw, all our centre back, all our fullbacks, I would say, they're pretty much caught off at the midline, and then we get hit on the counter attack. So barring that, I would just say energy is just another thing, because we've seen how our players, they used to, completely fade after the 60th minute. They were just not, able to maintain the quality for the full 90. So that's pretty much Diogo Dalot in a nutshell. But yeah, I think in the short time that, under Ragnick, he was basically, able to express himself much more, because all he used to consider Aaron Wan-Bissaka as his go-to man when it came to his right back position. Under Ragnick, he basically, got his opportunity to start featuring for us, was actually, able to impress us for, I would say, at least 10 to 15 games, because the kind of performances that he was pulling in, I think at first even we were, really, really staggered as to, actually seeing someone from the back attack that well for us, because we were missing out on that for quite some time last season. So for the first 10 to 15 games, I would say he was really, really impressive. Then he suddenly got dropped out of nowhere for 5 to 6 games, and Wan-Bissaka came in. Then he was able to come back. But after coming back, he wasn't able to, perform to the levels that we had seen him perform in. Like the game against Crystal Palace, he was absolutely spectacular in that. So I think Diogo Dalot, young player, has still got loads of potential. I would say has some areas to work on. But if Ten Hag, I think Ten Hag could carve him out to be the fullback he wants him to be.
Interesting. Very nicely put. I do remember them first 10 games under Ragnick, and Diogo Dalot was actually Ragnick's most improved player. Like statistically, he was like number one in a lot of stuff and looked really well. Then towards the back end of the season, Telles and Dalot, they just looked so bad. In that Arsenal game, it was really bad. Kept getting caught out of possession. Like it was pushed up really high. Had no awareness in behind him or anything, and just kept getting hurt. In the Liverpool game as well, it was shocking. Like really bad. But yeah, I do think there is space there to improve. I like Dalot. I think it can be coached. And I think if you was to bring in someone who's equally as good, a little bit better, you can have that competitiveness, which all players need, and pushes them up a level. I don't think Diogo Dalot has that in Wan-Bissaka, because I think Wan-Bissaka pretty much has had one decent season with us when, defensively he was really, really good, but that's all he's got in his locker. People have found him out now, and now he hasn't improved. So Dalot hasn't really got any competition at all, to be honest. And this is why we're doing the head-to-head today. We've got Dumfries versus Dalot, because Dumfries is a target of ours. It's someone we're looking at, and he's got a lot of quality, and he can bring a lot of stuff to the team. And Ten Hag really likes him as well, obviously being a Dutch player and a Dutch manager. Do you want to jump in? Let's jump into the stats. So appearances for Denzel Dumfries, 33, and he started 21. What's Dalot got?
Dalot has played 24 and started in 19.
He's only started 19? Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, because I think Ragnick pretty much came in around December.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't know why that shocked me, to be fair, when you think about it like that. But that's like half. He's only started half the Premier League games. He's 38 games in the season.
I mean, most of the last season is a blur to us anyways. So.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Very good point. Clean sheets, 14 Dumfries has with Inter Milan. Oh, this is going to be shit, isn't it? Let me guess. Is it 3? 5. That's better than I thought, actually, to be fair. But even so, I'd love to know what teams they were against. I know you haven't got the things there, but I bet it was against shitters. because we rarely kept...
I mean, to be really honest, one of them was against Watford. So
no, that 0-0
one was Watford, one was the 0-0, 1-0 win against Norwich was another one. I mean, yeah, you're not completely off when you're saying that, it's against the teams which,
doesn't surprise me in the slightest. I wouldn't usually put this in with the defenders, but I've gone for goals and assists just because Dumfries in this realm is decent, and you've just mentioned Dalot as well. But Dumfries has got 5 goals and 4 assists, which is decent because in 21 starts for a wing back, I think that's good. Pass accuracy, so own half and opposition half. I always bring the opposition half into it because, as I've said a million times before, I remember the Atletico Madrid game where Lindelof was at right back and he had 95% pass accuracy.
Yeah.
People from the outside can look at that and think, oh, that's really good. Every single one of them was sideways. Every single one of them. So I think opposition half is always nice to bring in so you can get a perspective on it. Own half for Denzel Dumfries. This is going to be an interesting one between him and Dalot. Own half, 77%. Opposition half, 71%, Shreyas. What's Dalot got?
Own half, 81%.
Oh.
Opposition half, 74%.
Okay, so he's better than Dumfries in that aspect.
And we've seen that as well, that, when he's more of a threat when it comes to, when him being on the edge of the opposition box. And I think one of the reasons why he wasn't, able to get actually an assist or a goal last season, because he was actually really close to scoring goals at times. He hit the woodwork, I would say, about 5 to 6 times in games. We've seen that. But I would say that, for most of the season, in those 19 games, I think 11 of them, he was playing with Elanga. 8 of them, he was playing with Rashford alongside him. So he hasn't really had a stable partner. And both Elanga and Rashford have, especially Rashford, I would say, they ignore Diogo Dalot whenever he's made the overlap. And we've seen and we've called it out multiple times that, whenever Rashford has the ball, he's on the edge of the box. He completely ignores his runner, especially, in the game against Atletico Madrid in the second leg. That. He was on the edge of the box. Dalot was ready to put the cross in. He could have just, flicked it back and Dalot would have gone to the cross, or he could have gone for the cross himself.
Rashford must be so frustrating to play with, man, because I've seen it happen so many times. Like the pass is on. All you have to do is just simple overlap. Like it's so easy to do to make that little running behind. Beckham and Neville used to do it all the time.
Yeah,
and they just haven't got that consistency, and that's why I love the point you make about the partnerships, because it's non-existent. Yeah. It's always different.
We don't really have a stable right-wing partnership at the moment, right-wing, right-back partnership. Yeah. I would still say that, of the left-hand side, we still developed something of Luke Shaw or Alex Telles with Jadon Sancho, because Jadon Sancho was actually, coming into his own during the second half of the season. And I would still say that, next season, he's going to be arguably our best player on the pitch next season.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I thought he looked really sharp in that preseason game.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a threat on the Ten Hag, definitely. I just think you look at any teams, Liverpool, they always have Robertson, Mane. Obviously, Mane's gone now, so it'll be Robertson, Diaz, Trent, Salah. 9 times out of 10, Chelsea, when they had Chilwell, Reece James, it was always with Mason Mount or whoever it was on the left-hand side, Kai Havertz, whatever.
Havertz or Pulisic.
Yeah. So they always have that, I can't say the word, familiarity. Is that the right word? Yeah. They know who's going to play in front of him, so it makes it much easier. Dalot, you can't really blame him too much because he's always got a different partner. So, yeah. Let's have a look at accurate crosses. This one, again, I am interested because I think Dalot would have more, but I don't know. Let's see. Accurate crosses, Denzel Dumfries has 0.4, 33%.
Accurate crosses, Diogo Dalot has 26%.
26, so it's less.
Yeah.
Because when I think of it, obviously I don't watch Dumfries week in, week out in the Italian league. Like, if anyone watches the Italian league all the time, fair play to you. I don't. I watched him very closely in the Euros for Netherlands, and he was really good for them. Like one of my favourite players of the tournament. But he wasn't necessarily putting a lot of crosses in. He was more shooting, if anything. He was getting goals and cutting back and stuff.
I would say that, I've seen Inter quite a lot of times, especially, when it got announced that Liverpool and Inter were going to be, facing off in the Champions League. I actually, saw a few games of Inter just to, get a hang of how they actually, run things. And when I've seen them play, I do understand as to why he has got more crossing accuracy than Dalot, is because basically they pretty much play a back three with the advanced two fullbacks. So Dumfries is actually allowed to move a lot forward. They've got players who can actually do some damage when it comes from crosses as well, because they had Lautaro Martinez, I would say one of the best striking prospects pretty much around the world right now. And except that as well, he has had a really, really stable midfield partnership with Nicolo Barella as well. So having that sturdy backline as well as having that stable partnership on his left with Barella, I think it does account for something, because he he has got that license to actually move forward. And even if he sometimes he does fumble, he's got that confidence in Barella or someone at the back like Skriniar to actually be able to deal with the pressure. At United, the situation is that if Dalot misplaces that cross and we do get hit on the counter, it's going to account for a goal instantly, because McTominay can't defend, Fred can't defend, Maguire can't defend. It's basically Varane in there. And if there's no Varane, then there's Lindelof. And Lindelof, I would say, on 5 counter attacks, I think he can still deal with 2, but on the remaining 3, it's basically just David De Gea.
That's one of our biggest weaknesses, isn't it? The transition. Yeah. I've said that so many times. Yeah. Like I realized this in like the start of the season when we was playing like Newcastle and Palace, and he was getting turnovers, and you could just see there was a massive gap. Like McTominay cannot do that job when City has it, because obviously they push a lot of players up. And when the odd time when they actually do lose possession, they haven't got loads of players back, but they have someone who's smart and good in the tackle, like a Fernandinho, like a Rodri, someone like that. Fabinho does it for Liverpool. We haven't got that specialist there to do that job, which always confuses me as to if we was to bring De Jong in. I don't think he could do that. I know we could take it off the back 4 and distribute it, but I don't know who's gonna do it for us. So it kind of begs the question: like, are we still going to be caught in transition?
We got no CDM.
Well, yeah, no zero CDM. God knows when we're actually I think when we actually sign one, we should just have a fucking party. Every United fan should just go outside Old Trafford, start popping champagne, and be like, finally, we've done it, because we desperately need one, man. We need someone like a Kante. Like,
definitely we do. But if I'm going to be realistic, I think the only way, I mean, if we, I think if we do get CDM, it would be someone who plays as a centre mid and would be, chucked in at centre defensive midfield and
do a job FC, basically.
Yeah, and I know it's going to sound really bad, but I think the way it would happen would be Fred goes out and then we re-sign Fred on a deal and he plays CDM for us.
Wouldn't surprise you, would it? It really wouldn't surprise you at all.
Or we sign back Pogba.
No, don't even mention that. I'm so fucking glad he's gone. We could do another show on that. I don't want to talk about Paul Pogba today. I won't get back into the stats. Touches per game. Let's see how involved the 2 right backs are for the respective teams. So for Denzel Dumfries, you've got 35.3 touches per game, which actually isn't as involved as I thought he would be. But yeah. What have you got for Dalot?
61.2.
Oh, so he's double.
Yeah.
That's bit mad that. Maybe it's because he's not as involved in the central areas because Dumfries plays as a wing back. He just holds that width there. So
most of them have definitely, got to account for the way we pass the ball.
Keep it at the back. Yeah. I knew he was going to say that then. Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, it's actually, really, really funny at times because what I've seen as well, and I guess you would have seen as well in a lot of matches last season, would be Maguire has got the ball, McTominay or Fred shout for the ball.
They won't even shout, they'll just hide. They'll hide. Yeah. McTominay will hide behind a player, and Maguire's like, where do we go, mate?
And, even when they do get the ball, they just pass it backwards or to the wing or to the fullback. And it's basically, it's like a rhombus, like this. The ball just doesn't, go to the opposition half. And I would say that, for most of the part, I would, let Bruno off for actually, misplacing most of his passes, because if you are actually, in that number 10 spot and you basically, are getting the ball like 4 times in one half, you have to go for that killer pass, because if you don't, go for that killer pass, the game is going to end as a stalemate. So
also, have to try drop back to get, that's why you see Bruno dropping back to pick the ball up and then distribute the play. But because he drops back, there's no one in the 10 position then.
I mean, Bruno as well, and I would say even Ronaldo, we've seen him drop back so much that, we basically got no one in the front just to carry the ball forward.
Yeah, it's again another disappointing stat there for you, but we're just bringing you the stats. Make up your own interpretation of them, whatever you want. Big chances created. Dumfries has 6 for Inter Milan. What's Dalot got?
Now, once again, this is just a fan channel.
Two.
Just brace yourself. Sometimes, yeah. Big chances created 0.
0. Oh God, that needs to improve drastically. I think that is something Ten Hag will look at when he comes in and he'll be like, yeah, that needs to improve definitely. Because your wing backs nowadays, a modern wing back, I guarantee if you used to look at big chances created from Trent or big chances created from whoever, Cancelo, I bet it's miles up there, miles bigger. Absolutely.
I mean, to be really honest, when you look at how Cancelo can play off the left, can play off the right, I would say he basically plays as a left midfielder in that Manchester City unit. Because I've never, if you actually see him play, you will never, see him actually be, in that defensive spot for about, in a 90-minute game, he wouldn't be there for 60 minutes. For, I would say, 50 or 55 minutes, he would pretty much be at the opposition box, and he's actually, really, really good at what he does. So it's staggering to see how good.
I'm just looking. Sorry to interrupt you there, Shreyas. Yeah. I'm just looking at the big chances created. Trent has 18. Trent Alexander-Arnold has 18, and Dalot has 0. So it just shows, like.
It takes a lot of hard work to actually put in 0 assists in a season as well. It's not that easy to pull off something like this.
You got to balance it out, haven't you? Exactly. Yeah. We'll try to sugarcoat it as much as we can, just like Ollie did. Right, successful dribbles. 0.5 Dumfries, 50%, which isn't bad. It's not too bad. What has
68% for Diogo Dalot?
Okay, so it's better at dribbling. To be fair, you do see him not a little step over beating a man, don't you?
Yeah, he's good on the ball. He is good on the ball. We've seen that as well. When he's been given that license, he has been able to express himself quite well. And, especially again, I still remember that Crystal Palace game so well because he actually impressed, I would say, a lot of Manchester United fans in that game because he was, able to do skills. He was going past defenders as well as this, he basically, had Eze and Zaha pretty much under check for most of the game as well. So we pretty much were seeing him as, a perfect fullback in that game because he was highlighting everything.
We was highlighting Zaha, weren't we, before that game and saying he's going to be a threat.
Yeah.
I remember doing the match reviews like he's going to be a threat on that left-hand side because Dalot positionally may be a bit off or whatever. But yeah, you're absolutely right. He did well in that game. I remember it very well.
I think, on the ball, he's actually, really, really good. It's his positioning that lets him down. And plus, I would say that, the way we pretty much played last season, our fullbacks need to have at least this kind of dribbling ability because if they didn't have these dribbling stats, I would say the games which ended up 4-0 or 2-0 or 3-1 to us, it would have ended up like 6-7 because then we pretty much, I mean, the games, it is a stat as well. The games where Diogo Dalot had the dribble success rate to be lower than 40% was the game against Manchester City. And in that game, for the last 25 minutes, City had 96% possession.
Yeah, I remember that. So
it basically explains everything.
Yeah. I'm feeling like it's like little sharp knives digging in my ribs, just thinking about certain times from last season. Do you know what I mean? Like things I've forgotten about. Like that 96% possession thing you just brought on now was like a little, you know what I'm saying? Like a little, oh shit, I remember that. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, anyway, possession lost 9.4 for Dumfries. I reckon Dalot's have been more, I'm guessing. But I've been off before, so who knows?
12.8.
Yeah. 12.8. Yeah, makes sense. But then again, Dalot's involved more in it. Like, as we said before, with touches per game, he had double touches per game. So maybe that affects the possession lost. I want to do interceptions per game and tackles per game together. Very similar things. So interceptions per game, 0.3 and tackles per game, 1.0. This will give a perspective on defensive duties to see who's better.
Dalot has actually, got interceptions per game 1.2 and tackles per game 2.3.
Okay, that surprised me quite a lot.
Yeah.
I thought, well, you can't really get well better because interceptions per game, Dumfries 0.3 isn't great. To be honest, that isn't good at all. This is why I want to see him in the right back position in the back four. Because them stats they would elevate more and you'd see more of a better average overall. I think as a wing back, it kind of takes it off it a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, to be fair to him, Dumfries as well, I would say that, in a back five, it's a really, really slow method of playing football. We've seen that a lot as well.
Yeah.
Whenever, if you play a black back five, unless, you've got that centre back who can actually, push forward and basically play as a defensive midfielder, like we've seen Rudiger to play a lot of times for Chelsea, that, he's basically, stepping into the midfield to actually, change the pace of the game.
It's like the juggernaut in here. He just bounces into the thing, just like fuck off. Yeah.
So I think that's one of the factors where I would say that, Dumfries hasn't really got that much to do in a back five when it comes to, defensive ability. But yeah, him not actually, being playing in a back four for quite some time, I would still say that, it's similar to Maguire's case, hasn't really played in a back four for quite some time. Whenever he's performed well, he has been in a back five.
At all in Maguire's case, to be honest. There's a lot more protection in there as well, in fairness. In a back five, you've got freelance to kind of bomb on, so you're not as involved in the defensive duties as much.
Can I remember make you remember something about a back five?
Go on.
Liverpool
back five. Did we play Old
Phil Jones, Victor Lindelof, and Maguire?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. I actually have, for some reason, when we said back five, I thought of the Tottenham game. Because remember when Ollie was getting spanked and he switched it up and then went to a back five in that Tottenham game? We had Cavani and Ronaldo up top, didn't we? And we ended up winning 3-0.
We won that game, but Tottenham pretty much won the season with that game.
Well, yeah, pretty, because they got Conte. It was like the battle for Conte, wasn't it? Yeah. You have to keep the pressing again, don't you? Conte. Just when I make a positive out of it, you turn it back and say, fuck you. I'm going to turn this back to a negative. Oh, God. Right. Dribble, last few stats now, guys. Dribble pass per game, 0.5 for Dumfries.
1.1 for Diogo Dalot.
Okay. And aerial duels and ground duels, we'll do these together. So aerial duels, 50. I expect Dumfries to be better in this realm, but we'll see. Aerial duels, 58%, and ground duels, 49%.
Aerial duels 63% and ground duels 56%. He's got an edge over Dumfries, I would say, when it comes to defensive abilities.
Because naturally, I thought Dumfries is like athletic, like he's massive, he's strong, he's got a good leap on him. I thought he'd be better aerially, but apparently not. If Dalot's better, what was his ground duels again? Sorry,
56%.
56, so he's better at ground duels as well. This is giving people.
When you look at Inter, pretty much, the way they play with their wing backs, defensively, they haven't really, got to do that much. Because, even if you look at the fullbacks that they had earlier to Dumfries, Hakimi, these fullbacks, they're not the kind of fullbacks that, you would associate with a back four, or pretty much, a back four where the fullback needs to do a lot of defending. You have to associate them with a lineup where, the fullbacks have got to pretty much do 70% attacking in the game and 30% defense, because they've got that athleticism in them. They've got the body as well for that, and the physicality to, keep on attacking for the full 90, mix it up with the midfielder or with the winger that they've got in front of them, because that's the job they're pretty much good at. And I think at Inter, he's able to flourish that good, because he hasn't, got that defensive shoulder on him where he has to be tucked back or maintain the shape at times, because he's given that license as well, similar to Achraf Hakimi as well, I would say. But with Dalot, I would say that, I think he is a similar player, but at United, he has to, maintain his defensive shape, which he hasn't been able to. That's why I would say that, most of his stats, some of his stats, I would say that, they're pretty haywire, because you would, say that somewhere it's there, somewhere it's here. So I think he still needs to, associate himself with the system. I think under Ten Hag, he could do that really, really well. Yeah. And I think that, if he does have a really good season, I think it would be a blessing in disguise for all of us, that because if he does play well, we pretty much say 50 to 60 million of that spot. And we can pretty much, invest that in a midfielder or a winger, or I would say before a winger, the way that, things are progressing for us, pretty much a striker next season as well. So, or even in the January window. So I think it's open to interpretation pretty much. I think the first 10 games of the season will be really, really key for him as well, because I think after the first 10 games, we pretty much, able to see the starting 11 that Eric Ten Hag prefers, his strongest starting 11, the players that he, actually believes in and wants to, give an opportunity to. Because under Oli, we saw that as well. And under Ragnick, we saw that as well, that pretty much after the 10th game, there wasn't heavy rotation in the squad. It was just, within the 10 games that, we were able to see that, Telles came back, he came back, Martial was given a chance, Cavani came back. Unfortunately, Donny didn't get a chance to feature, but I think things would change this season. And the most heavy rotation, I would say, would be within the first 10 games. And after that, I think we would be seeing the strongest Eric Ten Hag 11 for Manchester United. So if Diogo Dalot is able to feature in that, I think it would be pretty cool. But if not, I think that our hope to actually, sign a striker or defensive midfielder soon would have to take a halt, because I would still say that the way we are progressing in the windows as well, first we'll be cementing our back line and then moving on to the midfield. So I think pretty much, I think Diogo Dalot, an interesting prospect, a key season for him to, actually maintain or end his Manchester United future. Because I think this season, especially, someone working under a manager like Eric Ten Hag, he expects results. And if you don't bring results, he's going to sell you off. We've seen that a lot. If a player, is not actually working to the way he wants him to, he basically sells him off. He's done it at Ajax as well. And he's pretty much come in with the same mentality at United, which we, actually expect of a manager as well, that the player has to respect the manager and the club. So it's good. And I would say let's be positive and actually, assess how we play in this friendly as well, because we've seen that, how seriously he's taking these friendlies as well. Because I think one of the best things that I actually saw coming off Eric Ten Hag was after the first game, even though we won 4-0, he said that, I've seen a lot of negatives in that game. I've got a lot of things to actually rectify. I've got a couple of things wrong, because you wouldn't associate a manager to, come out and say such stuff after winning 4-0, which is a really good scoreline.
I love it.
And I think he was able to see what us fans were, able to see for most of the season. And most of that, I think, has to come down to the midfield, not the back line. I think even in the second half, players like Savage and players like Zidane Iqbal, I think they were really, really classy and really, really smooth on the ball. Played really, really good considering how young they are. I would say got loads of confidence in as well. So I think I'm loving his attitude, especially, I think I love that he has that cutthroat competition at his mind. He's basically going in next season with the, possibility of actually, getting something in, basically top 4 or, whatever can be achieved. He's, keeping an open mind. And I would say that, even though the situation we are in, we definitely need that winning mentality to come off our manager, even though we don't really have that much of a competent squad. So I would say it's a positive light. I think, especially the preseason, it's a good bubble to actually be in, because once I would say the Premier League, it actually starts, even we actually don't have time to, actually pinpoint positives out, because it's game after game after game after game. And the way the points table actually fluctuates as well, it's difficult to be, able to, if we have a 1-2 loss right now and we, see players actually, playing well, we could still, it could be bittersweet for us. And we could say that, at least the squad is playing well, at least they're playing attacking football and something like that. Once the season commences and, we get like a draw, a loss and a win, we're pretty much muddled,
everything goes out the window then, innit?
Yeah.
As soon as that starts, everyone's all like happy and glowing during pre-season, and the reality hits when we've got Brighton, who we got spanked off 4-0 towards the back end of last season. That's when it really sets. The first month is going to be key. But I think from what I've seen, there's a lot to unpack there from what you said. But from pre-season, I'm impressed with how we started. You can see a bit of a difference in certain things we're working on. It's no way near the finished article. It's one game. I think a few people are a bit overreacting, if I'm being completely honest. Like, obviously, there's some people joking, saying we're going to win the league, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
The quadruple.
The quadruple. I get it. They're saying it. But certain people were like, oh, we look really good. Maybe we can chat, like, just steady on. Like, give Ten Hag time. Hopefully, we get the players in who we want. because I think someone like De Jong is going to be key. And I think that game in particular against Liverpool highlighted how much we need someone like De Jong.
Yeah,
because we
do
need someone
that midfielder
who's press resistant, who can take it off the back four, compose the play, knows when to speed it up, knows when to slow it down. We desperately need someone like that. And I think Eriksen helped with that slightly because I know De Jong's the main one for it, but I think Eriksen coming into the midfield is a smart player, can keep hold of the ball a lot better than, especially McFred. So I think signings are going to be important. I just hope we can get him in quickly and get him.
Which
you know what I mean?
Which position would you say that you would actually see Eriksen working in? Would you see him as a rather like a central midfielder or someone like a 10 or potentially even a winger? Because how Ten Hag actually he had someone like Tadic. I could you could say that he could do the same with someone like Christian Eriksen of the left.
Yeah, I think there's two answers to it for me. So where he can play on the wing because he's played on the wing for Tottenham before, and can kind of do like when Mata was on the right and he kind of inverted and cut in and linked up. I think he could do that. I don't think he'd be an out-and-out winger where he's getting in behind because obviously he hasn't got the pace for that. I think he could be an intelligent player on the right-hand side, depending on the system. I think he can play as a 10, absolutely. I think that's his main position, and cover for Bruno if needed, or even put Bruno where, let's say Ten Hag played Tadic on the left, put Sancho on the right, do it like that. I'm not sure. And I think Eriksen could play as an 8 as well. I do think he can play as an 8. As long as you have a decent DM in that midfield. If you had Sangare, De Jong, Eriksen, I think that could work for me personally. I don't know. But I see him playing multiple positions. I think he'll definitely get game time. There's enough cup competitions and stuff. There's enough games in the Prem where we'll get game time, absolutely. On the two players we were discussing, Dumfries and Dalot, I just wanted to give you my quick conclusion before we kind of head off. It kind of emphasise what I already thought about him. Like, I knew they was both good at going forward, but they've both definitely got areas that they need to work on defensively, like defensive positioning, the balance, when to attack, when to stay back, especially if you're in a back four. The standout stats for Dumfries are the goals and assists he gets for club and country. Really dangerous player going forward. I'd love to see how we would progress in the back four under Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag could work with him as well as he could work with Dalot. So both are players you're looking at in a few years' time. I know Dumfries is 25, I think, or 26, I think I said. Dalot was a bit younger in his. How old was Dalot? 22, something like that. 23, yeah. So there's a few more years for Dalot for him to improve. And I know before Ten Hag even came in the door, he was talking about Dalot, wasn't he? He was saying, like, I can't wait to work with him, etc., blah, blah, blah. So I don't think Ten Hag sees the right-back position as a priority, but my personal choice would be Dumfries if you're going to go get someone. Have you got someone different in mind, or would you go for Dumfries yourself?
I mean, if we had been much more, active, I would say I would have gone in for someone like a Mazraoui, who's pretty much, he's gone to Bayern, but I think he's really impressive because he's someone who's, actually worked in a back four and maintained those stats for pretty much whole of his career. And I would still say that, going in for Dumfries would be a big gamble, considering that how we are gambling with most of the positions this summer. I would say if we actually, are going in for someone, especially at the back, off the right-hand side, I would say why not go in for someone like Tariq Lamptey?
Yeah, I like that shout.
Because
absolutely.
Someone, I think, because he's someone who's pretty much proven himself in the Premier League, has played in a back four a lot for Brighton as well, has been really, really impressive under that Graham Potter system as well. So I think someone like a Lamptey would be a really, 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 I think he would be a different addition, I would say. He's not one of those typical Manchester United signings, kind of like Malacia. He's one of those signings that, he would come in pretty much, either have an impact or not have an impact. But if he does have an impact, it's going to basically, rejuvenate the squad because he, like Malacia, he's really, really young. So in my list, I would first say Mazraoui and then I would say Lamptey and then Dumfries.
Absolutely. But yeah, important thing is, guys, let us know your opinion on both wing backs. If someone like Denzel Dumfries was to sign for us, would you be happy with that? Do you think he'd be a starter? Do you think he would compete? Is he someone else you have in mind? Maybe you would bring in a little gem around Europe. Who knows? Don't forget to like the video and hit the subscribe button as well. Trying to push for that 250, as I said at the start of the video. That'd be really nice if we can get that before we start the season. Drop us a follow on social media, TikTok for all the funny clips from shows like this, Twitter for regular transfer updates, and Instagram for weekly lives and the content schedule as well. I think that's everything, Shreyas. So thank you for joining me. Really appreciate your company. It's been an absolute pleasure and it flew by. Have you got any departing thoughts on United before we head off very quickly?
We're going to win the league.
We're going to win the league. Absolutely perfect.
In the next 10 years.
In the next... Okay. Perfect. Cool. Me and Shreyas will see you guys in the next one. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Peace.